All right, let's go. Welcome to our UC Berkeley virtual visit, everybody. We are so excited to welcome you to our student panel today. Before we begin, we'll go over a little bit of housekeeping. This is going to be a 1-hour panel. It is a question and answer session, so you will not be able to use the chat function on Zoom, but you will be able to type your questions in the Q&A. I'll be moderating this panel, so we will make sure that your questions either get asked by one of our amazing back-end ambassadors who are going to be typing answers, or we will send them on over to our awesome student panel to answer live for you today. If you need any more information beyond what is covered in this panel, you can visit our website at visit.berkeley.edu, or you can email us at tor@berkeley.edu and a student campus ambassador will reply. And that is actually me. So email me at tor@berkeley.edu and I will answer your questions if you have any more. We'll show that information again before this virtual visit ends, so don't feel any need to write that down. It'll be coming back at you in a bit. And then before we start, I also want to make sure to say that we are aware, we acknowledge all of the difficulties that are going on in the world right now, all of the difficult circumstances that people are going through, and we want to make sure to say that at UC Berkeley, we stand with you, we recognize that, and we are so grateful, wherever you're joining us from today, that you have decided to come spend an hour with us learning about our campus and joining our virtual student panel. And with that, let's get started. So we're all going to introduce ourselves. My name is Danielle. My pronouns are she, her, hers. I'm originally from Windsor, California, and I am going to be a senior here at UC Berkeley, which is so exciting. I'm a sociology major, and my involvement on campus is mostly with the theater department with student theater organizations like Bear Stage Productions. And besides being a student, I've actually been a professional actor all 4 years that I've been a student here at Cal, which has been so much fun. And with that, I'll hand it over to our panelists.
Yeah, hello everyone. So my name is Will. My pronouns are he, him, and his, and I'm from Mill Valley, California, which is just north of San Francisco, so still in the Bay Area, pretty close. I'm a rising sophomore, and I'm intending on majoring in human geography. I might also be adding a second major in interdisciplinary studies field, which is our create your own major program here at Cal, which is pretty cool. I'd be able to blend linguistics and anthropology as well as a few other disciplines, which is a really neat opportunity. I'm also part of Delta Phi Epsilon, which is our co-ed professional foreign service fraternity. I volunteer through Reuse, which is our on-campus thrift store. I participate in the Cal Running Club, as well as our on-campus chapter of Amnesty International. And I also participate in the language exchange program, which is where I meet with my now friend Isabella, who's from Brazil. She helps me with Portuguese. I help her with English. It's a really fun experience. And then I also took a gap year before coming to Berkeley. I deferred my acceptance and did study abroad for the whole year in Spain. So if you have any questions about any of those or study abroad, feel free to let me know, and I'll hand it off to our next ambassador.
Hello everyone, my name is Emmeline. I use this she, her, her series. I'm originally from Aliso Viejo, California, which is in SoCal, where I'm coming to you from today. I'm a rising sophomore. I'm an intended business administration major that is also intending on double majoring with public health. Regarding my involvement, besides being a campus ambassador and doing this, I work in the office of ASUC Senator Rebecca Sue. The ASUC is our student government body on campus. And within her office, I am on the UIC board, or Unity in Christ. I am a professing Christian, and the fellowship I go to is Reformed University Fellowship. So if you have any questions about religion or what it means to practice your faith on campus, please don't hesitate to ask those in the Q&A function below. And besides those things, I'm also involved with a club called Hands and Feet. This club goes out each weekend to serve our homeless population in Berkeley. And besides that, I'm also on an IM volleyball team. So yeah, and with that, I will hand it off.
Hello everyone, thanks for joining us today. My name is Dina. My pronouns are she, her, hers. And I am joining you from Delray Beach, Florida, a bit far from California. I'm a rising sophomore and I'm majoring in English, and I recently got my journalism minor over the summer. So if you have any questions about summer minors, you can ask them in the Q&A with the Q&A function. On campus, I am a news reporter for the Daily Californian. I'm in the songwriting club. I'm involved in Greek life, and I'm a Bear Talk blogger.
Hi everyone, my name is Irene. I use the she, her, hers pronouns. I am from Los Angeles, California, but I'm here in Berkeley for the fall. I am a rising junior, so I'll be entering my third year at Berkeley. And outside of academics, I am involved with the California marching band. Ooh, I play trumpet, so I spend a lot of time on the football field, and hopefully we'll be back soon. Off campus, I am an intern at a startup called Vote Plus 10, where we try to learn how to civically engage just average everyday people. How can we take action, political, environmental, social? So go ahead and ask any questions using that Q&A function.
All right, those are our wonderful ambassadors for today. So like Irene said, go ahead and get your questions in the Q&A function, and we'll start answering them now. All right, so the first question we're going to ask is going to be for Will, and it is, what was your freshman experience like? Do you have any recommendations for the best places to study or to hang out on campus?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I just finished my first year, so I'm pretty easily able to answer this. I think the best advice I can give is to get involved in as many things as possible. At Berkeley, we have over 1,000 student organizations, as well as tons of opportunities to volunteer, intern, get a job, really anything you might want to do. There are tons of events going on. So for me, I looked through our whole list of clubs, finding stuff that was interesting to me. I found some ways to get active. I found some academic clubs, and I think that was super helpful, not just to kind of figure out more of what it is I want to study. It was also fun, but just finding community, it's really helpful when you find a group of students that have a similar passion as you, who, are involved in the same activities. And I think one of my favorite places to study is our map library on campus. They just have some really amazing resources. I was able to look up where I live from the 1900s and see a map of that and compare it to now, which was a really cool experience. We have 24 official libraries, 8 affiliate libraries, as well as a bunch of other departmental libraries. So I think study-wise, it's really, really easy to find the right atmosphere for you. I mean, Moffitt Library is open 24/7 as well, so tons of resources in that sense. I think to sum it up, my freshman year was just really involved and fun. I think that I didn't feel like I had a lot of pressure to decide a major right away, to, put in all of this effort into a certain club or organization. It was kind of like whatever I felt like I was most comfortable with. And Berkeley does a really good job of ensuring that you have all these different opportunities to get involved. And so, yeah, I really enjoyed it. I think it's really fun. And I think a lot of other people have similar responses.
Awesome, wonderful. That's such a great answer, Will. For your freshman year, I mean, in my experience, it's totally just about finding your people, finding where you belong, finding your favorite place to study, all that stuff. And you have so much time to do that. You're not in any rush, you're not in any hurry. Yeah, it's all about falling in love with the campus that you're going to be arriving on, stuff like that. Yeah, thank you. So our next question is, what was it like coming in as an out-of-state student? What was that experience like? And that question is going to go to Dina.
Yeah, so I was actually never intending to go to the West Coast, but I am so happy that fortune made it have it that I did, because it is such a different lifestyle. And I think I'm so thankful for the opportunity to be able to experience a different side of the entire country. And as an out-of-state student, of course, I had to adjust to the time zone, which is 3 hours ahead here for me on the East Coast. And something that I found to be really helpful with that was making sure you use your Google Calendar so you get right on the right time zone and you don't show up late. Of course, we do have Berkeley time though, so classes start 10 minutes after the hour, which was really helpful for me. And additionally, I think that I had only been to California once before I came to Berkeley, and it really is a really wonderful place, and everyone is so welcoming. And just like Will was saying, you really find your community through clubs and activities and joining things like I joined the Daily Californian, where I was able to make connections. And also I rushed a sorority, which was very helpful in finding a community. Overall though, I think basically there's people coming from not even out of state, but out of the country. So you're not alone in the fact that you have to adjust when you first get there. And even people who are from California, you have to adjust to college as well. So we're all going through it together. And I think that that forms a sense of community and a bond that we're all experiencing this new environment together.
Thank you so much. It's a great answer. And yeah, that's so true about the community. We like to say that this campus is a really large campus with a really small campus feeling. And what that means is that you find your community, you find your tight-knit learning community, your group, and then you stick with them. And that is so easy to do in such a diverse campus with students coming from so many different backgrounds. So thank you. Next, this is a question for Irene, and it is, what is the professor-student relationship like, and how open are they to helping you?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I didn't realize how big of a school Berkeley was until I got here. One of the first classes I took was an introduction to Near Eastern Studies, and it was like 400 students. And my graduating senior class was 120 students. But like Danielle said, UC Berkeley is really good at making a really big campus feel really small and tight-knit. The professors here, they want to make sure that they are imparting all the knowledge that they have onto their students as clearly as possible. Obviously, we are the future. And so we need to absorb all the knowledge that we can, and the professors are so willing to help you. And again, this was freshman year. There's this anecdote that basically sums up how willing professors are to make sure that, you know, you're doing okay. They want to get to know all 400 students. So there was a midterm and my alarm just didn't ring that day. So I showed up to class an hour late and I missed the midterm. And I didn't even realize that I was late, and I ran in. I talked to the teaching assistant or graduate student instructor saying, I missed it, like, what do I do? And she said, go run to the professor's office right now, see what you can do. I ran in, I explained the story, and he said, you know, normally I'd like dock points or not let you take it, but because you sit at the front of my class and laugh at my jokes, I'll let you take it. And so he gave me an extra hour to finish the exam. I did really well on it. He also forgot to dock points, but it's okay. And so this kind of summed up what my, perspective or perception of professors at Berkeley were like. You know, they just want to make sure that all their students are successful. They don't want to bring you down. They don't want to knock you out, of UC Berkeley your freshman year. Even in a class of 400 students, they have office hours that you can go to talk about any lecture material that was confusing, talk about an essay that you wrote, or just talk about student life. They're here to help you, and they want to get to know every individual in their class as much as they can. Even if it is 400 students, they want to get to know all 400. So the professors here, as well as the teaching assistants or graduate student instructors, they want to make sure that you have all the resources that you need and are getting all the help that you need at all times. So obviously, like my Near Eastern professor, they all want to do exactly that and make sure that you are successful at Cal.
What a wonderful anecdote that is. And that is so true. At least for my experience with professors at Berkeley, they really want to help. They want to give you all the resources you need to succeed. And it is a really healthy dynamic between our professors and our students. They're so accessible. So thank you so much for sharing that. Our next question is going to be for Emmeline, and it is, what is the workload like at UC Berkeley? If we wanted to potentially double major, would this be manageable? And then would you still be able to have a work-life balance if you double majored?
Yeah, that's a great question. In terms of workload, I won't lie to you and say that it's a piece of cake. We are the #1 public university in the world for a reason. And so that being said, our academics they're challenging. Classes are hard and you are really pushed to learn a lot. However, that being said, it's very manageable and very doable. I never thought I would come into Berkeley double majoring, but I worked with my advisor and found out that, all the classes that I need to take within the 4 years that I need to graduate, it's very doable as long as I stay on top of my work. And so I would say, yeah, for you, if you are interested in double majoring, the first step would probably be talking to your advisor. And I will say too, it's not uncommon at all. There are a lot of Berkeley students that double major. I know a student who is triple majoring. A lot of people do a major and a minor, 2 minors. So there's a whole combination of different classes that you can take and still graduate on time. So yeah, talk to your advisor. I would also say that it depends on what you're trying to double major in. I know that engineering classes and the College of Chemistry classes that they have to take, they tend to be more difficult than, say, more general ed majors. So yeah, it definitely depends on your schedule. In terms of practical tips, because I love to be practical with these things, use the calendar on your phone. That is a huge one. Like even what Dina was saying earlier about, just staying on time for, if you're out of state, even for in-state students. I'm from SoCal, and my entire life is dependent on that calendar, which probably isn't a good thing now that I think about it, in case anything were to happen. But yeah, that'll be something that is super helpful, just to manage your classes, but then also book in time to study and to get your problem sets done. And then also like the club meetings that you have or whatever. And I promise that if you are on top of it and you stay, learn to time manage pretty well, doing a double major and also having a life. We're not just people who, are cooped up at our desks all day. We do like to have fun and go out with our friends. Like all of that is very possible. And having a well-rounded college experience is definitely doable. So yeah, I hope that answered your question.
Yeah, thank you so much. I can confirm the calendar is a lifesaver. If you have that calendar up to date, you can conquer the world here at UC Berkeley. It is all about getting your time in order, and then from there, I honestly think you're set. But that's just my experience. So next we have a question from Emmanuel, and this is it difficult to find peers who challenge your views? And this question is going to go to Will.
Yeah, that's a fantastic question. I think that it's more the opposite. It would be pretty difficult to find someone who isn't going to have, a discussion with you about something. That's one of the reasons I've loved Berkeley so much so far, and a reason that it's sometimes a little bit different going home or talking with friends from where I'm from. I find that students at Berkeley are just eager to discuss anything. I mean, we do have protests that happen on campus. You are not at all required to participate. I mean, you can completely avoid that part of campus if you want, but I often find that my friends will say, oh, did you hear about this? And, we start discussing the topic, what we think of it. And I've found that everyone has a completely different view on things. They have a lot of different experiences, whether you're in state, out of state, the background that you and your family comes from. I think that it would be really hard for me to find someone who really has the same views as me and, doesn't want to invite that sort of discussion and that learning atmosphere that is just ubiquitous here. So I've really appreciated being able to be surrounded by so many people who have completely different experiences. I mean, just from our panelists today, you can see we're all involved in such different things. And so I've really appreciated being exposed to so many new things.
Yeah, absolutely. I can agree. You don't get a campus of 30,000 undergraduates and then find them all to have the exact same views, whether that's social or political or academic. We are such a diverse student body, and it is so much fun to be a student here and explore that. So can confirm. Next, we have a request to please describe more about the business administration track. And this question is, of course, for Emmeline.
Yes, yeah, I'd love to. So there are a lot of students that choose to do business here at Cal. The first step as a freshman, you would be applying to UC Berkeley by itself. So the Haas School of Business, which is actually a graduate school we have, also hosts an undergraduate program that you apply to separately from the school. So a lot of business students end up applying to the College of LNS, or the College of Letters and Sciences, which is by far our largest college here at Cal. And so typically during your sophomore year, you will be sending in another application to the Haas School of Business. So this includes 2 essays, your transcript and classwork, as well as a resume. And so it's basically like another college application, unfortunately. It is very competitive, I will say. This past class that was just admitted this past year, the acceptance rate was only 16%. And it is of college, or of Cal students that are applying to the Haas School of Business. So it is really the top the best of the best. That being said, it is doable. If you know coming into Cal that business is something you want to do, that is the track that you want to go on, you can, work your schedule and your classes around, the prerequisites that you need to take. I am also choosing to double major as well with business. And a lot of business students choose to do that too. It's kind of a running joke that, you have to work hard your first year, and that's like the hardest it'll get. And then once you get into Haas, it's kind of a piece of cake from there, because it is all about, getting your grades and your GPA to a place where they might accept you into the Haas School of Business. So that's kind of the general rough application process. I will say some students do choose to apply their junior year as well. I personally had a friend who is an intended business major, who is a year older than I, so he will be a rising junior this year. And he decided to wait an extra year just so that he could boost his GPA a little bit and make that application a little bit more appealing. So it is possible to do it your junior year. However, most students do it the fall of their sophomore year. So if you have any more questions about the business program, I'd love to answer those too.
Yeah, thank you so much. It's a great overview and a lot of really good tips in there for people who might find themselves applying to Haas once they're here. So our next question is going to move away from academics back to the social side of UC Berkeley, and it's a fantastic question. Alexi asked, does UC Berkeley have LGBTQ plus community or communities? Irene, can you take that one?
Yeah, I was I will always go back to the size of UC Berkeley, seeing how big our student population is, the number of communities and the number of resources that we have for students of all different identities and backgrounds is seemingly unlimited. So in terms of LGBTQ resources and communities that we have, again, seemingly unlimited. When I first came here, the couple that I did learn about was the Queer Alliance Resource Center. So this is basically a community of students who identify as queer, and you just have like a group support on campus. So they'll have meetings sometimes, maybe just like a social, you have some cookies. So it's a really great just community of like-minded students that you can feel more comfortable with on campus. Again, finding that tightly knit community on such a large campus is super easy with all of these different resources that we have. We also have LGBTQ counseling. So this is with our University Health Center, the Tang Center. So if any student is, struggling with mental health and they identify as LGBTQ, we have specific therapists or psychiatrists who would work with them so that they're just so much more relatable, a lot more personable, and you would obviously feel more comfortable with them. And LGBTQ health education so that you get to learn about your, sexual health as well as just mental health and overall health. And just the list goes on. And all these communities are here to make sure that our students, of all 40,000 graduate and undergraduate students, feel supported once they are here. So all these small communities are basically sprouting everywhere. No matter where you look, no matter what background you're from, you will definitely find some group on campus that will fit your needs, your personality. We have over 1,200 student-run organizations. And so of those 1,200, you will definitely find one. And if you don't, you can make your own. And so all these communities are here to support all of our students. I definitely feel supported. And when I don't, I know people who I can turn to just to have a conversation about or to find more resources on campus. So yeah, those LGBTQ communities, health resources, social resources, they're all here and available for all of our students.
Thank you, that's wonderful. And it's so important to note that not only does UC Berkeley, the institution, offer so many resources and so many resource centers, but there's also student organizations, there's local community organizations in and around Berkeley that are so engaged and there for you to take advantage of. They're a resource there for you just like the school. So thank you so much for elaborating on that. All right, next we have a question from Michael, and it is, do you ever have trouble getting into a class that you want to take? Dina, can you take that one?
Yeah, for sure. So in my personal opinion, not my personal experience, I'm an English major and I have not had too much trouble with trying to get into classes that I want to take. It might be different for other people who are taking different studies, but I did have a thing where I got on the wait list. And this is something that's really important to know, is that if you really want to take a class, you can join the wait list for that class and then show up to the class and just talk with the professor, let them know you're really interested in it. And usually, most times you get off the wait list because students can move around. So if you just show a passion for the class that you want to take and get in touch with the people that you need to get in touch with, like professors, advisors, there's an LNS advisor, and then once you declare, you get a declared major advisor. They can help you situate yourself in the correct classes for each semester. Again, in my personal experience, I was on the wait list that one time and I got off of it. And this is because I followed all those steps and went through with it and sent emails. However, the majority of my classes I was able to get in right away, especially with the breadth requirements, as everyone needs to take a certain number of breadth requirements in each one, which is like in arts and humanities. There's a physical sciences, a biological sciences. I took a nutrition course, and that was a pretty large course, and I was able to get in as the last student to get in. So sometimes you just get really lucky, and you have to remember that a lot of the classes are just going to be there again the next semester. So you always have the opportunity to take them.
Yeah, that's a question that we get a lot here as campus ambassadors, about the class sizes and about the enrollment. And I definitely can agree with Dina that I have not had any issues getting classes that I need. I've not had any waitlist issues. It is something that warrants investigation, but as long as you're prepared, you will be fine. And we just had a poll launch asking what you are interested in studying here at UC Berkeley. It looks like most of our respondents are interested in social sciences, yay. We also have a bunch of prospective engineers, which is also amazing. And we have some business, we have some physical sciences, amazing. So we have people from all over the spectrum of academic interests. Welcome, and I'm so glad to see that. So our next question is going to be, do you believe that classes have a more lecture-based teaching style, or do they have a discussion-based teaching style? Will, could you start us off for this one?
Yeah, that's another great question. So a lot of our larger classes will have both a lecture and a discussion component. So in that sense, sometimes both. The vast majority of classes are, at least I've found, are more discussion based. Even in a larger class, for example, my introductory linguistics class, there's about 150 people, and we had lecture 3 times a week in the morning. Something that was amazing about our professor asking questions was it was all about language. So having 150 Berkeley students, we had dozens of different languages represented there. So our teacher could ask a question, someone could respond in their native language, and it was a super amazing experience. I also like taking a lot of language classes. Those are always small, discussion based. I think one I'm taking in the fall only has 6 students. And so there's a lot of opportunities for different types of classes. It somewhat depends on what your major is, as well as how big the class is, some of those factors. I find that most professors definitely do work in some sort of active participation component so that students feel engaged. I'd also add that we also have a lot of classes that aren't really lecture or discussion based. For example, in the fall, I took a course called California Earth Science in the Field, and it was just a camping trip. We spent 4 days camping. We went all the way down the California coast. We had lunch on the beach every day. And we just talked about geology and rocks and how California has formed. We got to see Pinnacles National Park. And so that was an amazing experience. And in that sense, it wasn't really a lecture or a discussion. It was just kind of like going out in the field and seeing these things live. And so at Berkeley, there are tons of different options for types of classes. And it's just kind of finding what works best for you as well as for your specific discipline.
Amazing, thank you. Irene, did you have something to add to Will's answer?
Yeah, number one, I just want to say that is such a cool class. I've heard about these lab field classes where you go out and just literally learn by touching or seeing, but that is really cool. In terms of lectures and discussions, a lot of our classes are split into both. as Will mentioned, because our school is so big. So in a lecture class I took an introductory computer science class, and this had 1,200 students. So, how do we not get lost in this sea? So what we did was, a lot of classes do is you have the lecture portion where you meet a couple times a week with the main teaching professor, and he or she will basically lecture all the general concepts, everything, they want the students to know. And then we'll break out into discussion sections. So these are separate discussion classes specifically for just discussion. So there isn't really lecturing. This is basically, again, discussion run with a graduate student instructor. So these grad students are basically working as your mentor or TA for that entire semester, who are also studying that exact thing in that field. So if I'm taking a political science class, the grad student instructor will be studying political science on campus as well. So these discussion courses function as kind of a tight, a much more intimate circle. So it's about 20-ish students, for students to ask questions, again, just have a discussion, go over the concepts that were taught by the lecturer, professor. And so this really intimate setting for you to ask questions and just really solidify the knowledge that was presented to you in lecture. So it's often split into both parts so that you can, just sit down, listen to what the professor is saying. They may also have that participation aspect of it where they ask a question and then they say, talk to your peers about it, and then we'll answer it all together. And the same goes for discussion where, you do a lot of interactive things. The GSI will have like a little activity or a game to help you really understand what's going on, as well as you to just ask questions and get to know your peers, maybe form a study group.
Thank you so much. You guys did a great job covering that and covering just the breadth of different classes that are available at UC Berkeley, the variety of options that you have. Thank you. So next, here is a great question. Are there many on-campus job opportunities? And for students who are looking to participate in shadowing or internships, would you say that it's easy to find opportunities? Dina, can you take that one?
Yeah, definitely. So I'll first address the jobs on campus aspect of the question. First of all, this is a job on campus, being a campus ambassador, which is a great job. I love it. There's also other ways to get involved on campus, including work-study programs. You can work at Cal Dining, different applications for different places on campus to work at. In addition, you can work as the security guard at the front of the residential buildings that scan people in. Each thing requires a different kind of training, but it's definitely worth it. And then in terms of internships, we have a website called Handshake where you can search by keyword a specific area of interest that you're interested in, and it connects you with specific companies and places looking for internships that you can apply directly online. And even now, a lot of them are virtual, which is really nice, and you can just send an application, get an interview. And if you need help with anything, we do have a Cal Career Network and advisors that can help you with your job search and your internship search. In addition, another way to get an internship is to work really hard in your classes and impress your professor, and then make a connection with that professor and ask them at the end of class if they have any availabilities working in their labs, if it's a science class, or on any studies or any research opportunities that they're doing. And they're always, usually, if they're working on something, very in tune and want to help you and encourage you to help you and do your research here on campus. Also, we have there's a I don't know if anyone wants to help me with this, the name of the research website that is slipping my mind right now. Well, there's a research website and you can apply to many different research opportunities and get involved that way.
Is this URAP?
URAP, thank you so much. Yes, it's called URAP. And it's an online application that you can apply to. I have a friend that applied to many, and then she had interviews, and now she was working as a translator. She speaks French. She's translating documents from the Holocaust and working with her research professor in that way. So it's really interesting opportunity.
That's really incredible. Wow. Yeah, and just to clarify, URAP stands for the Undergraduate Research Apprenticeship Program. And so it's one of the main ways that undergrads on our campus are able to engage in research or start that process. And then Will, did you have something that you wanted to add to this one?
Yeah, I was just gonna go off of that with research. Just to echo what Dina said, I mean, I have friends doing research on gesture and linguistics, or doing research on Jewish history or chemistry. There are so many different options. And something that's really neat that often doesn't get mentioned is we actually have a research major specifically. We actually have a few, which is the major I mentioned briefly at the beginning, which is ISF, Interdisciplinary Studies field. And it's our create your own major, but basically I will end up mixing 3 disciplines at least. So probably Portuguese, linguistics, and anthropology. And then I will have to do research and write a thesis on that. So I'm thinking of sort of mixing that with study abroad and taking advantage of our insane amount of study abroad opportunities to go to Brazil and also do my research there on certain speech communities. So there's so many different ways to get involved in research, no matter what your different discipline or background is. And if you really like it, you can even make your own research program. So there are tons of different options.
Awesome, thank you. And then while we are on the subject of internships, we got a question for Irene, which was, can you talk a little bit more about your internship at the startup? How did you get the opportunity?
Yeah, so Dina touched a little bit on this. I was taking a class this past summer, and my professor was doing a little bit of consulting for the startup as, someone who's an expert in just political science, talking about how to engage voters in the US. And, that startup was looking for a couple interns, and, he was like, I'm teaching a class with 60 students. I'm sure one of them will be interested. So he sent out a flyer to the class saying, if anyone's interested, this is what the startup does. It's called Vote Plus 10. And so I was, interested. I was like, might as well just send in an application, see what happens. And so I did. And I happened to get it. So now I'm working with the civic engagement platform so that we can make a lot of these little voter engagement just like activities actionable. So I make a lot of the content on the back end, and we make it really easily so that we compile all the resources out there so that people don't have to go out and look for it. So this internship, again, like Dina mentioned, was just introduced by my professor. A lot of department-specific internships and research opportunities kind of come up in random emails that you receive from your department. So for example, the political science department sends out an email, I think twice a month, just listing different internship or research opportunities, grants for research, scholarships, just listing them all out so that students have access to those resources. So although they cannot individualize it to each student in such a large school, they want to make sure that, they put everything on a platter. And the difficult thing is that you have to go out and get it for yourself. So again, my professor was like, if you're interested, here it is. You have to go out and get it. So when you start taking these classes, once you're here, just going to your professor's office hours sometimes. Someone mentioned just asking about what kind of research they do, and they're like, hey, I'm actually looking for someone to help me with some research. It's a really great way to just find a learning opportunity to, do an internship, do some research. So just talk to your professors and see, take a bunch of classes you're interested in, and maybe you'll find something.
Yeah, thank you so much, everyone. I know that when you're an incoming student, learning how to research and how to ask for internships and stuff like that is a really big deal, and figuring that out is a little bit convoluted. So thank you guys so much for answering that one. Next, we are going to move into a little bit more housing and dining section of the university. This question is going to start off with Emmeline. What food options are available, and are freshmen required to take a meal plan?
Yes, great question. I am a huge foodie, and so this is a very important topic. So as a freshman coming in with your housing package, you do get a food plan. And so we have 5, I believe, dining halls around campus. And within those, they're all located closely to the different residential halls. So the one that I went to my freshman year was called Crossroads. It was between Unit 1 and Unit 2. It had so many different options, you guys. If you're a picky eater or are vegan or vegetarian or, you know, have some sort of allergies or something, they make so many accommodations. You will not have an issue finding food to eat. I know at Crossroads specifically, there was a full salad bar that you guys could go to. One of my favorite things was called Bear Fit. It was kind of a Chipotle style, Subway style, halal like bowl with rice and grains and meat and beans. It was so good. I would go there probably at least once a day for one of my meals. And then there's also what they choose to serve as the main meal each day. And there's a couple options as well. I know there's always a pasta. There's, you know, some sort of meat or burger or, you know, something you can chew on. And so that was like, there's so many different options. You guys won't have to worry about those accommodations. And the food's actually pretty good in my opinion too. I know everyone has their own opinions on which resident hall like has the best dining hall or whatever, but don't worry, you guys will be fine. And besides that as well, there's also so many good eateries around Berkeley area. Literally, we have a street just full of like small-owned businesses that are serving really good food. So even if you want to go out with some friends, grab a slice of pizza, or you know, go maybe downtown and get something a little bit nicer. Like there's so many options in the area. Trust me, I'm a huge foodie, and so this is very important. But yeah, and then besides, so you do get that meal package your freshman year if you are in the dorms. You can always opt in to having a meal plan. However, a lot of students after moving out of their dorms, maybe into their own apartment, they choose to grocery shop for themselves and cook for themselves in their own kitchens as well. So that's definitely an option for you guys too. But yes, those meal plans, definitely don't worry. You guys will have something to eat at Berkeley.
Yeah, amazing. And yeah, so when you're a freshman, if you are living on campus, that is just part of the deal. That meal plan is going to be part of your housing package. But if you don't want to live on campus, it's kind of up to you. So you've got a ton of flexibility. And then I believe Will has a couple important points to add on to this one.
Yeah, I totally agree with Emmeline. I loved the residence hall. The residence hall food. I also, coming from the Bay Area, I hear a lot about how good the food is in Berkeley. So, I mean, Berkeley and the Bay Area in general is just a huge mix of all these different people and food cultures and things like that. And that really comes through in the restaurants. They're amazing. I also want to shout out a few of our student resources on campus. So there's the Berkeley Student Food Collective, which is sort of like a student-run grocery store. And we also have the Food Pantry, which is located centrally on campus. And this is where students can go to find low cost or even free food. So if they're in a financial predicament or, you know, something happens, anything, you're free to go in there. You can also volunteer there. Part of the reason I know about this is because the on-campus thrift store, Reuse, that I mentioned before, is located right next to it. So our thrift store, we receive a bunch of donated clothing, and everything we sell, all the money goes to charity, and everything is usually like a free or $1. We also repair clothing. And this is a great resource, not just for Berkeley students, but also just for the Berkeley community in general. You know, it's important that as students, we give back to, you know, all of those other restaurants, small businesses, you know, people that make our experience as students so valuable and meaningful. And so we have a lot of different student resources to ensure that, you know, you're happy and healthy on campus and getting all of the, you know, nutrition and everything like that that you may need.
Yeah, I did want to add on too. I totally forgot. I saw somebody asked about just affordability of food off campus as well and wanted to throw in my 2 cents. It's definitely affordable. I went out with my friends probably once, twice a week. The Bay Area is known to, you know, have higher prices in general. It's not necessarily the cheapest place to live, but it's something that students definitely go do. And even I would like to share too, like if that's not something that is within your budget or have the ability to, don't worry, you're not missing out either. Even though there's good food in the area, that's just something that is an option for you, but it's not something that you necessarily have to feel pressured by to, you know, go and do either. So yeah.
Awesome. Thank you guys so much, especially for amplifying like the accessibility and the affordability of, our local dining culture and stuff like that. So thank you so much. Our next question, continuing the housing dining theme. What is the housing like? Are there residential colleges, or maybe is there themed housing? Can someone give them an overview? Maybe Dina?
Yeah, definitely. So about the theme program, we do have themed housings. We have ones such as the Global Environmental Theme House, which is if you're interested in the environment. We have Casa Magdalena Mora, which is for our Hispanic students. And just basically, if you want a community, we also have Empowering Women in STEAM, and a lot of others that will help you find a community right when you get to Cal from the beginning. That's a separate application from our housing process, but usually they're very receptive to you and want you to join their community. And for housing, we have many housing options on campus. We have our units 1, 2, and 3. I lived in unit 1 actually, and I lived in Freeborn Hall, which is our substance-free hall on an all-girls floor. So you can always request things if you want them to be specific to your housing. We also offer suite style, mini suite style, and I lived in a dorm room with a shared bathroom, which I actually surprisingly had a really good time having, because you form a community with your floor mates, and it's a once in a lifetime experience to be able to live with so many intellectual people and share a space and learn about your roommates, which I definitely did. I had 2 roommates. I went random with them. I know that's very risky, but I know if they got into Berkeley and they're in Berkeley, they have to have some good in them. So, and I was right. My 2 roommates were super, super nice. They were from California. They taught me a lot about their culture, and I shared a lot about mine, and it was a really great bonding experience. So aside from the units, we also have Foothill, which is more of a nature-like housing experience. We have Stern, which is our woman-only dorm. We have Clark Kerr campus, which is the farthest from campus, but a lot of people like it for its unique facilities. And we also have a transportation that takes you around campus if you need to at night. And then we also have our most wanted dorm, which is Blackwell Hall. It's our newest, and it's got beautiful facilities. So I recommend checking that out. Everybody wants that one. But aside from that, all the housing options are really great, and I do recommend living in them if you were living in.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for that overview. Jumping right into our next question, this is a little bit more topical. What has your experience been like learning over Zoom? How did the transition go from in-person classes to online learning? And let's start with Irene for this one.
Yeah, so definitely the transition aspect was pretty difficult for me. Number 1, just because it was so sudden, and number 2, because it was so different. So initially, struggling to focus on Zoom, struggling to figure out like what the best study method is now that things have changed so much. But I eventually, found my footing towards the end of the spring semester, this last spring semester. And so I feel pretty comfortable going into this fall because I took a couple classes over the summer. So it's been a lot easier. So in terms of what my experience has been, surprisingly, pretty good. UC Berkeley has been offering a lot of resources for students to be successful over Zoom or just online learning in general. For example, all of our graduate student instructors and professors also had to suddenly transition into this virtual learning platform. And so they were kind of thrown off too. So they were really accommodating. And in order to kind of help us find our grounding, they've been extending their office hours because now it's just much easier to schedule appointments and meet with them. So for example, my GSI this past summer, she said, just email me any day, any time of the week, because every day is pretty much the same. So she would open up her office hours, not just Monday to Friday, but Saturday and Sunday as well, because she's saying, you're at home, you have these new responsibilities, and the weekends might be better for you. And so all of our professors and GSIs have just been so great and supportive during these times. And it's made me feel like I'm feeling a lot of the support, even though I feel a little claustrophobic in my home. I feel like I'm not really in school, but our professors, my peers, and our GSIs have been so good about it, making sure that we are still learning, engaging with the material as much as we can. And for students who don't have much access to Wi-Fi or technology, UC Berkeley has been super accommodating. So they actually made this program very recently. The name is blanking in my head, but they offer all these resources where they loan computers, loan routers to all of the students who need it in order to, actually do school from home. And so overall, the number of resources that the university has been offering has been seemingly unlimited, my favorite phrase, my motto, but it's been really great. And I'm pretty excited to go into this next semester. I'm still taking the classes that I was planning to take in person last year. And I'm, again, just super excited because our GSIs and professors have been keeping us in the loop, saying, hey, this is how this class is going to be different, and this is how you can be successful in it. So overall, pretty good. And I'm feeling confident for this fall.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Yeah, it's been a big change, but the school has done a lot to make it manageable. So it looks like we just launched our last poll for today. It looks like most people are joining us from the Eastern time zone, so amazing, welcome. We also have international visitors and people from all over the country, so it's so wonderful to have you with us. I hope you're enjoying our virtual visit. We have just 2 more questions left. First, pretty quickly, we have the question, what is there to do off campus, like in the city of Berkeley? Emmeline, do you want to take that one?
Yeah, I'll keep it brief because like you said, we're running out of time, but if there's so much to do, like so much that you probably won't be able to get to do everything in your 4 years that you want to do. If you're a hiking person, there's Berkeley Hills and amazing, beautiful trails that doesn't even feel like you're in Berkeley. If you're a coffee person like I am, there's coffee shops and restaurants. Like I said, if you're a big foodie, we have downtown and so much to do around there. Even on campus, we have Memorial Glade and places just to hang out with friends, play some spike ball or even take a nap. And if Berkeley isn't, we have karaoke. And if there's not enough in Berkeley for you, then there's always San Francisco. Only, a 20-25 minute BART ride. BART is our Bay Area Rapid Transit away. And I know a lot of students will go there on the weekends just to hang out or study or, go to the city and explore. So don't you worry, there's so much to do. And I also know we didn't touch on athletics. So I would like to say that athletics is a huge thing too. Football games, going to basketball games, volleyball games, all games except for football and men's basketball games are free to students with your student ID. And so, whenever there's a big football game coming up, the entire school will get super pumped up, wear their blue and gold, have that school spirit. And so that's definitely something that's a big part of Berkeley life as well. So yeah, tons to do. Don't you worry, you will not be bored.
Thank you so much, Emmeline. And yes, athletics, even though we haven't talked about them much today, they are huge here. Game day is a very big deal. I highly recommend when those start up again, coming out to one. So our last question for today is going to be an opportunity for our ambassadors to kind of share their own experiences with UC Berkeley. So that question is, how did you know that Cal was the right choice for you? What is your Berkeley story? Will, do you want to start us off?
Yeah. So totally agree with Emmeline. You definitely cannot get bored on campus, and that's something I'm really glad I've realized now being here. After, applying and getting in, I realized I just didn't know that much about Berkeley at all, despite being so close. I don't know how I didn't do more research, but I finally found out a lot more information at Cal Day, which is our big open house 1 day a year. And I got to go there with my dad, and I saw indigenous Peruvian dancing in a celebration. I also went to the linguistics lab, and they gave me an ultrasound of my tongue to see how you pronounce things. And my mind was just blown, And so I was thinking, wow, there's so many cool things to do on here, whether it's academics or celebrating different cultures and food and things like that. And I started getting a lot more excited about it. Then I went abroad and was with people from at least 50 other colleges in the US, as well as other international students. And essentially every single one had the same message, which was, this has been the best part of my college experience by far. And I really loved my program, and I loved that response, but it kind of made me nervous. Like, I was starting out with the best part, and Berkeley was just gonna go downhill from there. And boy, was I wrong, because coming to Berkeley at times has actually felt more international than when I was literally living abroad. I mean, an example of that is in the fall, I'll be taking classes that are taught in English, Spanish, Igbo, and Amharic, 4 different languages, which I had never even realized that was even an option. So, I mean, coming to Berkeley now is far and away exceeding my abroad experience, any other experience I've had really. And I've been really grateful for all the different opportunities, all the different perspectives, and just, how well the Berkeley community just mixes together and incorporates all of these different ideas to make the world a better place and teach not just for the sake of education, but to really make a difference in the world.
Beautiful, thank you. Emmeline, you want to go next?
Yeah, I'd love to. So I, believe it or not, did not actually want to come to Berkeley. The only reason why I even applied in the first place is because my mom came to Cal, and so it was the same UC app. There was no more work for me. She just, paid the however much to add it on. And I was like, okay, Mom, I'm not gonna go, but sure, if you want to do it, it'll make you happy, do it. I was really intimidated by the academic rigor that I heard of and the political activism that that seemed all scary on the news, and thought the city was really crowded and cramped. But every single day since I've been at Berkeley, I have just been proven wrong time and time again. The campus is gorgeous and it has grown on me so much. And there really is no place like the city of Berkeley. It is a true college town. Regarding the academic rigor, like I said, earlier in this tour, yes, it's hard and it's challenging, but we get the opportunity to learn from literally the best people in their fields, which is amazing. And it's very doable too, as long as you time manage your schedule well. Regarding the political activism, that's something that we take a lot of pride in. And I've learned that it's really awesome that students are going out of their way and taking time out of their day to advocate for what they believe in. And even if it's not necessarily, not always something that I agree with, I can at least respect that these students are wanting to be change makers and are really going out of their way to make a difference in this world that is beyond just, being a college student at Cal. So yeah, even though I didn't want to be here, I would say if any of you guys have those hesitancies, don't you worry, or any other hesitancies either. Berkeley will 100% blow your expectations out of the way. And I know that by firsthand, right? Like I didn't want to come here and now I'm the campus ambassador and am promoting it to you guys. So yeah, that's my Berkeley story.
That's amazing. Thank you. Dina, you want to go next?
Sure, yeah. I actually experienced something similar to Emmeline. I was planning to go to school, or I wanted to go to school in New York, but again, I said this already. I ended up here, and I am just so happy that I did. And I think that if right now 2 people are telling you they didn't want to come at first, and then Berkeley literally changed our minds so much that we're campus ambassadors now, I think that proves a big point. So basically, being and applying in California was really new for me. And I think Berkeley knew what I needed before I knew what I needed. I think I say this a lot, but Berkeley has the best of both worlds in the sense of the world-renowned academics as well as the amazing athletics, the D1 athletics that we have. We have the beautiful hills of Berkeley, and then we have San Francisco a few miles away. So we have everything that you'd ever want. We have both. So you're never bored with just one thing. There's so many people, so many thoughts and opinions that you are always intellectually and around you, stimulated and challenged, which I love. I love a good challenge, and I think that Berkeley was the perfect fit for me, and I really hope it's the perfect fit for you.
That's such a beautiful statement. Thank you. And then last but certainly not least, Irene, would you like to be the conclusion of these beautiful stories?
Yeah, I think basically to summarize what everyone said, the reason that I decided to, stick with Berkeley, I also didn't want to come here. For some reason, there's this trend, preconceived notion of Cal. But what I learned that what I learned about Berkeley is that every single individual at Cal is here because they are passionate about something. Their main drive, our main drive, is that we are passionate. Even, you know, if we don't really know what we want to do in the future, we just know that we have this passion to pursue like Cal band, you know, the marching band, or learn about human geography, just whatever it is. We're all here because we want to learn and we want to become the best versions of ourselves. I've been here for about 2 years, and I've learned that if it wasn't for Berkeley, I don't think I would have grown as much as I did. And I still have a lot of growing to do, and I know that I can do it here at Cal. We're a really unique space where you can innovate, create whatever you want, and also do a lot of learning, growing on your own individually. So it's not all academic, it's not all political. It's a lot of individual growth that Cal has, you know, Cal created that space for you and for us. So, you know, if you're thinking about Berkeley, just know that you will discover something about yourself that you didn't know.
That is so beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing that. That's not the right thing. That's the right thing. There, hopefully everyone can see our contact us slide with all of our information. Let me just load this really quick. So thank you so much for coming to our virtual panel today. It means so much to us that you are able to join us with everything going on in the world to learn about why we love our university so much. And with that in mind, we have some other ways to connect with us. You can, of course, follow us on social media at Visit UC Berkeley. You can email us at tour@berkeley.edu, and a student ambassador will answer your questions. That is me, by the way. You can check out our Bear Talk blog. The Bear Talk blog is where students will blog about their experiences as an undergraduate here at Cal. Our campus ambassadors will tell you all about their daily life as a Cal student. It's so interesting. You can also check out 150 Years of Women, a celebration of UC Berkeley's first admitting women into the university. That is 150w.berkeley.edu. You can view our Chancellor's message of resilience, standing together, and you can keep up to date with our coronavirus responses, respectively. That is news.berkeley.edu and coronavirus.berkeley.edu. And of course, if you want to take an hour-long campus tour, not a student panel, but an actual virtual campus visit, you can sign up for that at visit.berkeley.edu. And with that in mind, all said, thank you so much for attending the virtual visit today. And we are going to wrap up our visit with a Go Bears on 3 from our panelists. Are y'all ready? 1, 2, 3.
Go
Go
Bears.
Bears!